Targon region has definitely shaken up the meta and provided us with many new decks, as well as upgrades to previous decks that were used. This video is the one that many of you have been waiting for, and I'm happy to bring you top 10 decks patch 1.8 based on win rate percentage. This video has been done in collaboration with Bomber TV. Discard Aggro has seen a rebirth in the last couple of patches, and it's still a good contender even with the new Targon meta. It features cards from Noxus and Piltover and Zorn with an extremely low average cost, with crazy 12 cards costing just 1 mana. It features Draven and Jinx, which both utilise the discard mechanic. The deck got a nice addition with Poro Cannon, which both synergises the discard mechanics and gives you cheap elusive units to go wide with, which then you can turn buff, which makes it almost a very natural fit into this strategy. Also, the discard mechanic can also be used to help catch your opponent off guard with cards like Vision and Flame Chompers, where you're both at 0 mana, or where your opponent does not expect any reaction from you, so it can kind of lead to some very extreme punishes. Other than that, the game plan has not changed from last season. Go wide early on cards thanks to Rummage, discarding cards like Jury Rig or Flame Chompers. Then buff your wide board thanks to Vision and Arena Battlecaster. Finally, when you're running out of steam, refill with Augmented Experimenter and bonus points if you can level up Jinx that way. This deck has been a staple part of the meta since it was introduced first with Bilgewater, and the kind of go-to control deck ever since. But now with the new Targon expansion, Aurelion Sol is the new control king, and deep sea decks have been dethroned. But this is still a solid tier 2 deck, which is why it makes this top 10 list. Get deep as soon as possible thanks to cards like Jettison and Draggers in early game. Avoid dying meanwhile thanks to cards like Withering Whale and Grasp the Dying, which can keep your Nexus healthy enough through healing mechanics such as Drain, so you can reach the late game. Once you've got deep, finish things off with your deep sea monsters and Nautilus. With the rise of Aurelion Sol decks, this deck can't compete with the value that deck can generate, and the only reliable win condition is the Maokai Mill. This deck cannot deal with the pressure of Aurelion Sol, so it's obviously going to be in a decline, hence only appearing at number 9. Ezreal Twisted Fate has been popular for quite a while now, but the rise of the new very aggressive decks has basically meant its fall in consistency, as those decks can end the game before Ezreal can level up or Riptide Rex can come down. The deck features cards from Bilgewater and Piltover and Zorn, and the deck plan is to basically control the deck with spells whilst working towards the Ezreal level up condition. In the end game, finish with power cards such as Riptide Rex or Ezreal himself, activating his effect with cheap spells such as Warning Shot and Mystic Shot. Twisted Fate is in the deck as he is useful against aggressive decks. His red card can be used as an AoE with Body, yellow can be used as removal / slow, which is useful against the support cards which are very popular at the moment, and the blue card on slower matchups to generate value. The rising popularity of healing cards with the Targon release makes the combo to finish off a little bit less reliable, therefore this deck takes only a tier 2 spot at number 8. It's still a strong deck however, and will be competitive against most decks. Pyro Aggro got more popular in the last stages of the last season, and it's still a worthy contender as its burn capabilities work well against mid-range and control decks, and he still was a good matchup against Aggro Mirrors. The cards in the deck are from Noxus and Bilgewater with a staggering 32 cards costing 3 or less. Misfortune will have a very hard time levelling up, and is here just as a more consistent way to level up Gangplank to make your boards more threatening also when you attack. Gangplank can end the game against wide boards and therefore making Aggro Mirror much easier as we said previously. This deck has a lot of ways to end the game with burn, like the usual Crimson Disciple into Imperial Demolitionist, or burn dedicated spells like Nox and Favor and Decimate. This is a pretty solid deck and a fast one, definitely a nice option to rank with, but as you will see, there were better options to go for aggro wise, so if you do like quicking aggressive decks, this may be the one for you, but keep watching. This is a new archetype. Well, actually Shen and Barriers was already a thing, but the addition of Lulu and Young Witch, now with the challenger aspect of this deck, can really shine. It features cards from Demacia and Iona as a hybrid between midrange and aggro. It can be aggro as cards like Flower Child into Young Witch, or War Chefs into Lulu, can lead to some insane starts which can be impossible to answer for certain decks. While it can be mid-range because it has a lot of ways to challenge other units, such as Laurent Protege and Swiftling Lancer, so it's a bit of a hybrid deck that kind of has both characteristics. You can protect the challenger units through Shen, Riposte, Young Witch, and Brightsteel Protector. The most notable combo is Lulu plus Fleet Feather Tracker, as she can easily remove whatever was played by turn 3, whilst also removing the blocker for Lulu as she can safely attack. This is definitely a solid and fast deck, optimal to rank with, and it's also got new cards which are good from the Targon release, so bonus points there, and it's also great against the new Aurelion Soul decks. With this deck, we've entered the S tier, and it's a deck we love to hate, Midrange Frostbite, which works around units having power 5 or more, and it features cards from Freljord and Noxus. Even though Trifarian Assessor got nerfed as well as the champion spell of Sejuani, this deck was consistent, and that way it's still S tier. This deck has a lot of ways to start aggressively, thanks to Omen Hawk and Avorisan Trapper mainly. It also has a lot of ways to refill your hand, with Avorisan Sentry, Babbling Burge, and most notably, Trifarian Assessor. It also has ways to remove big targets thanks to the Frostbite effect followed by Calling Strike, and you can also take out wideboards thanks to the Reckoning. The main win condition is with Ash, often comboed with Harsh Winds, to make it unable to block most of you with your opponent's board and win the game that way. Overall, this is a very solid deck. Not as fast as other options, but definitely a high win rate, so worth considering. Scouts has been a staple since the release of Bilgewater. This deck has an incredible curve, benefiting from all the great units coming from Demacia. It's effectively a mono Demacia deck, featuring 3 copies of Misfortune. On the mulligan, you always want to keep Misfortune and Quinn, as both of those are key cards in the deck, but it's also important to have 1-drops, such as Fleet Feather Tracker in particular. You want to level up your champions as quickly as you can, which is why you always want to attack with your scouts, even if they would die meanwhile. You also have lots of ways to generate value thanks to your tricks. Ringer's Resolve to counter AoEs to get those value trades on the white blocks, and Single Combat to remove their key cards, often getting a value trade by doing that. Riposte is a fantastic way to shield from removal and deal bonus damage, and back to back, which is amazing to cast on your scout units as they benefit from double the amount from bonus the attack. This deck has seen some experimentation for quite a while now, and it's finally in the rise of popularity and deserves the S tier spot. It's effectively a mono Bilgewater featuring Sejuani and Babbling Burge. You want to activate Plunder basically every turn, so when you drop Sejuani and Gangplank they'll be leveled up pretty instantly, if not very quickly already. You use Babbling Burge to consistently draw your power cards thanks to Sejuani and Riptide Rex. You also have lots of new ways to activate Plunder thanks to cheap spells like Warning Shot, Parlay, and the new Monkey Business. The easy Plunder activation doesn't stop there. Prowling Cutthroat and Monkey Idol are great at doing this too. Overall, the Plunder activations are crucial, as well as playing your Sejuani as early as possible, as her, plus another Plunder activator, is pretty impossible to recover from thanks to her leveled up effect. With the fall in popularity of Frostbite decks, they who endure archetypes get stronger and stronger. You've seen this deck before in many forms, and I've opted for the one with 3 copies of Callista. The game plan is pretty simple: be as aggressive as possible as you can, and reduce your opponent's health to low as possible, and then burn them out with They Who Endure and Atrocity. Some notable additions from the new release are Doom Beast, Stalking Shadow, and Unspeakable Horror. This would probably be the Bomber TV go-to deck for climbing ranks right now, But just watch out for Hush, as this can crush your hopes and dreams if used on one of your cards like They Who Endure. At number 1 is Swain Twisted Fate, which got discovered pretty late in the last season, and it's still the deck to beat in this new expansion. It features cards from Noxus and Bilgewater, and has a very average mana cost, with most peaking around the 3 mark. The deck is mainly a control deck, focusing on removing all early threats whilst working towards the level up of Swain, while Twisted Fate is just there as it's a very good card, and occasionally his red card can bump up the Swain level up quite a bit. The Leviathan is much more important to draw than Swain, as Swain alone won't get through most of the times. You just get the occasional stuns from their Nexus damage spells, whilst Leviathan, every turn you stun half your opponent's board, and Swain will easily connect, further destroying your opponent's board. And even if it doesn't, Leviathan will slowly and steadily kill your opponent with its effect, effectively putting your opponent on a timer to win. Definitely keep Leviathan in your opener no matter what, and try to draw as many cards as you can during the game, thanks to Salvage and Twisted Fate's blue card. And there we go guys, hope you enjoyed the video. I know lots of you are expecting an Aurelion Soul deck to appear here. The truth is, everyone has been trying him, and it's drastically dropped his win rate to the point where it doesn't even appear in the top 10. Think about all the new players trying to try him out and don't like him, and it just drags the win rate down, and the same can be said for other meta decks that are currently viable in the meta. The analysis of this video has been done by Bomber TV. He's a master tier player and very knowledgeable on deck studying, so please check out his channel. What deck are you having the most luck with so far in patch 1.8? I would love to hear in the comments. Up next is Best Meta Decks patch 1.8, taking a deeper dive into the best decks currently being used in the game. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.